welcome back to my channel. I am the Spell Singer and this is my ongoing review of the Gamebook series Fighting Fantasy. And this review is going to give you a quick look at this title with its book number, a read of the blurb, a chat about this plot with its locations, some game mechanics and adventure sheet, and then we'll look at the artwork and talk about my own likes and dislikes, any fun facts that I've found, any errors, and finish on a summary with a score out of 10 for this book. This is book 40, Dead of Night, and it's by two authors actually, Jim Bamborough and Stephen Hand. Now Stephen Hand has been involved with this series before, but as far as I know, it's a first for good old Jim Bamborough. But together they are brilliant, and they've given us a really great book to bring us up to number 40. And this was released in 1989, and you've got this amazing front cover here by Terry Oakes, but of course all that internal goodness, all the internal illustrations are by Martin McKenna. And there is no better than Martin McKenna when it comes to that gothic kind of horror look. So if you're after that, then yeah, McKenna was the man. So that's the that's this book with its number. Now the blurb for this one, this reads as follows. The Demon Lord Myurr seeks revenge. You are renowned throughout the land as a Demon-Stalker, waging war against the creatures of chaos. More than once you have thwarted the Demon Lord's evil schemes, but now Myurr has discovered a cunning way of extracting his revenge. There is no alternative. You must confront and destroy the Demon Lord, for the whole of the free world is threatened. Myurr's evil powers may soon enable him and hordes of his vile demons to cross from the demonic into the earthly plane. Okay, right. Let's talk about the plot and look at the locations for Dead of Night. So this one, you play a Demon-Stalker. And your parents have been kidnapped by this Demon Prince Myurr. And the plot revolves essentially around your mission, which is to rescue them, by travelling through various kind of demon-blighted regions, meeting up with old friends and allies through this homeland. Now the plot is largely personal, so it's personal to you. It's you also have this kind of secondary task of saving the world, of course. So as well as finding your parents, you got to save Titan from this kind of demonic blight. And the objective, the sort of primary objective, like I say, is to rescue your parents. So you got to get your folks back. And Myurr's abducted your folks. Your mum and dad, he wants to use them as a sacrifice. So that's why he's taken them away. He wants to use them as a sacrifice in his own demonic kind of ritual to unleash himself and all his hordes upon the land of Titan and all the continents within. And you have to travel from South Galanteria to the north, passing through all the areas showing evidence of any kind of demonic infestation. And ultimately to find Myurr, this demon prince, find his stronghold and try and get your folks back, rescue your parents. And in this adventure, you have a title, so you are Demon Slayer. That's how people know you. So the plot works really well in this adventure, and it flows logically and all makes sense, which is always a good thing. So between these two authors, they've kind of given us a nice flowing adventure romp to get excited about. So yeah, you're this specialist demon hunter, and like a demon Templar almost, which means you have a few items of equipment to help you on your way. And those include your horse, which you start out on, some holy water, a crucifix, of course. Got your little crucifix, you've got your sword called Night Bane, so you've given your good trusty sword a name, and all this proves useful depending on obviously the situation that you're in, and adds kind of nice layers of realism and some depth. some much needed depth as you try and decide, when to use these items. Now, as I mentioned, for location, we are back in Titan. So as you can see from this map of Titan here, you've got the old world, you've got Alancia and Cool. Now we're interested in the old world, so if we zoom in on the old world, you've got the location of Gladen Forest, which is not specific, but it's just south of Cragrock Peaks. Now, if you look at the Atlas of Titan, it locates the forest directly west of the words Cragrock Peaks. So I'm going to circle it here, and on the map of the old world, which you can see here, you get a nice little close-up, because we've got that internal map as well, which I'll touch on later on, but here's a nice close-up of Galanteria. So that's where we are in this adventure. Right, let's chat about the game mechanics, and then we'll take a look at the adventure sheet as well. So in addition to all the regular attributes, your skill, stamina, and your luck, Dead of Night features evil as a newbie, which starts with an initial score of 0. So you just start off and it gradually builds up over time depending on how well you play this game. So that's quite a cool touch. So throughout the book, you may encounter people and creatures, and they do things that will either increase this score or keep it level. And as a result, you're asked to test your evil occasionally. So it's a little bit like testing your luck, not too dissimilar from testing your luck. You also have a choice of talents as well. So this is becoming more popular in these books as we get closer to the end of this puffin range. We always get some kind of skills or techniques or talents that you can learn. And the list in this book are Banish Undead, so suitably gothic. We've got Dark Veil, Heal, Holy Circle, Meditation, Sense Demon, and Speak Demon as well. So you get to choose some of those to help you out on your adventure. And you can start off by choosing 3 of these. So whatever you think might work. There's also this reality warping spell. It's that the 7 worlds of Akara, I think is how you pronounce it, is known to you on this adventure, and it's mentioned as the only way of shattering a death stone. So you kind of start out with this knowledge already in this spell, and it's mentioned only when you need it, during the adventure at one specific point in time. And so you got that under your belt, as well as these 3 talents that you can use. So these special demon hunter type talents, they're all really nice additions to the book, and in a couple of neat plot twists, you can actually gain a 4th one, and you can lose one as well. So that can reduce you obviously to 2 talents, which will make the book increasingly tough. These mechanics are used to mostly avoid combat. They also allow you to gain clues as you progress through this narrative, communicate with the locals as you meet them, and just sort of give you other options other than fighting all the time and rolling dice to progress. So that's a nice addition. And I love this idea where the concept of using special ability kind of stands out. It's very important that regardless of which talent you choose, that you can still finish this book. Unlike book 29, do you remember when we did Midnight Rogue, where you're a bit stuffed if you don't have one of those certain techniques in particular. But in Dead of Night, there's no perfect combination of talents. They're all widely used. They're all really good and quite imaginative. And they're all handy in certain situations or scenarios. And there's always an alternative, like I say, option. Should you not have that talent, so you're not going to get an insta-death just because you don't have a certain talent. There'll be another way around it. It'll just be trickier. So that's smart. Yeah, good old Jim Bamber and Steve Hand have really thought a lot about the game mechanics for this book. Now, that evil stat that I mentioned, nice addition. This reflects any deeds that you do that might be more akin to kind of like a demonic act than a Templar act, for example. So it starts at 0 and it increases on rare occasions, and will only ever really increase if you use the talent in a kind of demonic way. So for example, Dark Veil can sometimes bump it up 1, or speaking in a demon tongue, so that Speak Demon talent, that can also bump it up 1. So you've got to be a bit clever about when you think is a good time to use them. And also, if you walk away from locals in peril and leave them to die, that'll bump your evil up too. So if you come across some peasants and their wagon wheel has fallen off or something, and they're being chased by demons, if you don't stop and help them fix their cart, you know, that sort of thing can increase your evil score. So, yeah. And at critical points, you're asked to test your evil. If you fail the test, you will normally be seduced by the dark side. So the number of instant deaths is quite low in this book, which is good. It's always a welcome thing. And they seem quite logical when you do get them, and quite fair. Plus they're described in a very sort of graphic way. Bamburgh and Hand have sort of decided that those one-liners that we used to get aren't really that great. So if you're going to die, you've got to go out in style. So they've given us a really nice graphic detail about how you die instantly. So much that it's actually worth going the wrong way sometimes to kind of find out how it is you actually die. So I found myself doing that a couple of times. You know, if it's all going badly and you've got bad stats, look for an instant death and have a laugh at how horrific it can be to die. Yeah. So the adventure sheet for this one, you can see here. So you got your skill, stamina, and luck, but there's your evil attribute there as well. And you've got those talents listed, so you just tick the 3 that sound appealing to you. Personally, I think with the last time I finished this book, I went with Banish Undead, Holy Circle, and Speak Demon. Those ones I found are the ones that I needed to get through this book. But you've got some holy water there as well. You've got your provisions, any gold that you come across, any equipment and items, and of course a place to write your notes for any secret passages that you find or any references that will help you a bit later on. Right, the artwork for Dead of Night. So that colour map I showed earlier, really interesting. That was Leo Hartus, of course. Good old Leo Hartus is back. And he's given us a really nice, colourful map of Galanteria. And the original cover was designed and illustrated by Terry Oakes. So it's quite a nice cover. The book numbers have returned as well. I don't know why they took them off, and it always bothered me. Because when you've got all your books all lined up, and you've got all those green spines and a couple of the numbers are missing, and oh my God, it just used to wind me up a little bit. And I don't know why they did it. It'd be interesting to know if any of you guys know why, and then I can put those demons to rest. But yeah, they're back. So the list of the books, also on the inside, after being sort of absent for the past few titles, are back too, so that's always a nice thing. The interior illustrations, Martin McKenna. So it has a very dark horror theme running through this one, a nice dark tone. And it comes through very well in the writing as well. So Mark McKenna had some good descriptive writing to base his illustrations on. And it kind of emphasizes the atmosphere even more. You know, Mark McKenna, he's really gone all out for that overall feel of the book. It really comes across in particularly during the later stages, like the third and final acts of this book, when things get really nasty, then his art really comes to life. That's a really nice tip, actually, because this book, as you play through it, the blight becomes worse. It starts off, it's not too bad, and it gets worse and worse the further north you go, and then the kind of artwork goes with it. It gets progressively darker the closer you get to reference 400. So the cover, it's a bit weird, actually. When I look at it, it could have been a bit more relevant, maybe. It doesn't really necessarily suggest that point in the book particularly well. I mean, it's okay, but it doesn't really tell you what it's about. It's just like this weird demon creature coming out of lava or something. I don't know. It's a good picture, but it doesn't really kind of reflect what kind of book this is. But maybe, maybe the brilliance of the book itself is deliberately misleading. I don't know. It's weird, but still eye-catching. My favourite picture is this one here. So this is the spirit demon. Let me read it to you. When I was a kid, this picture came across. It looks like Tim Curry from that demon film with Tom Cruise. I can't remember what it's called, but it looks like Tim Curry to me. Anyway, this is what it says. As you slay the awesome spirit demon, it tears a beam loose from the ceiling. The beam knocks over the smoking brazier, scattering their contents across the floor. The cottage begins to burn as you rush outside. No sooner are you out of the place, it collapses in a flurry of sparks. Charlena's death fills you with remorse, and you vow to avenge her. After saying a prayer for Charlena's departed soul, you mount your horse and return to the main road. That image is, it just sticks in my mind. Growing up, I just found it almost like a photoreal picture of a demon. Sticks in the mind. But a great piece of artwork by Martin McKenna. Okay, the likes and the dislikes for me for this book. I really love how the environment changes, like I mentioned earlier. It worsens as you progress through this story, as your journey progresses. In the south, the people, they've got this growing concern due to the rumours of this demon infestation, but it's just rumours at that point. They don't really know for sure. And the landscape reflects that. It's not too bad. There's a few dodgy looking crows flying about, and some weird characters, but it's not evident. But the further north you go, the worse it gets. And the Midlands are sort of fending off ongoing demon attacks. So it's all ramping up as you get into the Midlands. But the north itself has already sort of been lost to the demons. They've already taken over. And this really makes you feel like you're gradually entering the eye of the storm, the demonic storm, if you like. And even the weather gets worse. So that's testament again to Bamber and Hand. As you get through and you get closer to the goal, the weather gets worse. And you've got more deep mud to wade through. And it really starts to feel quite oppressive with all this sudden heavy rainfall and whatnot. And also, I really love the red herrings in this book, of which there are a few. At one stage, you get a secret paragraph reference you discovered earlier. And you always think, oh yeah, secret paragraph, that's a winner. They always lead to good things. Not this time. This is quite rare in game books, actually, and it's quite a refreshing change to the usual fighting fantasy approach where you cannot go without finding some secret references. But this one's a big red herring, and nothing good comes of it. Put it that way. Yeah, so there's a truly award-winning scenario where you have to protect a farm from these skeletons. I really like this bit, and it's stuck in my head. Let me read it to you. I'll put the reference up here. So this is the illustration as well. 156 is the ref. You get to this place, and it's a farm, and you kind of have to help the people that own the farm, this little farmhouse, defend it from these skeletons. So you have to look at all the exits and windows and doors and deal with them, but you're outnumbered. There's 6 skeletons coming. There's 6 ways of going in there, but there's only a handful of you. And you can use your crucifix, and you have to defend yourself against any that get through. And this is how it reads. So as you can see with the picture here, each entrance is numbered. You accompany Tom to his farm where you meet his wife, Gertrude, and their teenage daughter, Kate. And they all look scared, but they seem relieved that you have arrived to aid them. Gertrude, a large, matronly woman, brings you a steaming bowl of stew and quickly restores your flagging spirits. You quickly formulate a plan and explain it to the family. There are 6 entrances to the farmhouse. The family members can each defend 1, and you can guard another, and you will hang your cross over a 5th. Brilliant. And that leaves 1 entrance unguarded, but you are sure you are more than a match for any skeletons that may succeed in entering the farmhouse. Tom, Gertrude, and Kate all nod in agreement. Tom snatches up an old axe, Gertrude a large rolling pin, and Kate a stout log from beside the fire. The map on the opposite page shows a layout of the farmhouse. Deploy Tom, Gertrude, and Kate and your cross, and yourself by marking who or what guards each entrance. So yeah, it's just brilliant, and it really kind of gets you immersed into the story and also into the illustration. I love it when the illustrations play a part in these books. And this is such a great way of doing that. Very clever, very smart. I don't really have any dislikes for this book. I mean, I couldn't think of any when I was sort of writing this. And I think it's so strong. It's not terribly difficult, but that's not a dislike. It's a really strong book. I literally don't have anything bad to say about it at this time anyway. But I have got some fun facts. Well, one fun fact. I've got this interview that they had with Steve Hand. I'm going to read it out to you and run a few images of the book and stuff because no one wants to look at me for the next couple of minutes. But I'll read it out to you because it's quite interesting. So it reads as, and this is Steve Hand. I resigned from Games Workshop early 1987 to concentrate on freelance writing and game design. A guy called Jim Bambra had left the workshop about a month or two before me, and we decided to get together to write some game books. We did not want to write fighting fantasy. We did not think that the series was particularly interesting. So we put some concepts together and we tried to sell to various publishers. Everyone rejected us. Part of the problem had been that in the UK, the success of fighting fantasy had resulted in every publisher rushing out gamebook series of their own. The trouble was that most of these rival series were quite poor, which meant poor sales and lots of publishers getting their fingers burned. As some people said nice things about our idea and that the ideas were not good enough. Enter Mr. Robin Waterfield. The way I understand the Puffin Fighting Fantasy editorial system, there seemed to be two editors on the team. One editor dealt with the contracts, delivery schedules, arranging edits, supply of art, while the other editor was more of a games content editor. And the latter was someone who policed the plot, gameplay, structure, style and consistency with the rest of the Fighting Fantasy universe. Robin Waterfield was that man. And Waterfield said that he had no interest in our original ideas, but he liked to see a proposal from us for a Fighting Fantasy book. We had not wanted to write Fighting Fantasy, and there were parts of the standard contract that left something to be desired, but we decided that the range would be a good exposure despite the tucking away of the author's names in the micro dot on the inside cover. Waterfield sent us the writer's guidelines, Jim and I put something together, and Waterfield offered us a contract. I went and bought out some standard Fighting Fantasy source books and a copy of Tasks of Tantalon. We did some research and decided to use the old world because no one else was really using it. And because the few notes that we had written down about the old world meant that we could have a bit of fun. Jim and I had two different approaches to writing. Jim was more a standard fantasy scenario writer, whereas I was always trying to push the limits of what was possible and what was much into being pulp horror. Between us, we found a good balance. We decided that we would ignore what had been written in Fighting Fantasy before and create our own world within Fighting Fantasy. Our old world would be a grimy, realistic, human, political, horrific, medieval world, a sort of hammer horror pastiche in a plague-ridden peasant village. People would have motivations. The world would be filled with secrets and surprises. On the first book, what happened was that Jim and I plotted all the scenes and characters together, then we divided the different scenes between us, so I would write one area and he would write the other. And when we finished, we actually swapped documents and edited each other's work. This may sound strange, but it worked and led to a fairly even book written by two very different writers. For Dead of Night, Puffin gave us a choice of artists from their list, and we had to choose one artist for the cover and one for the contents. We submitted 3 choices for each slot, but got none of them. At first we were a little disappointed, but that feeling soon vanished when we saw just how good Terry Oakes and Martin McKenna were. So there you go. It's such a great interview, and it really sort of shows how two authors, like the ones that did Where the Tiger, they were polar opposites, but they made that game book work. And just like Bamber and Hand, they did the same. Yeah, Thompson and Smith, they did such a good job in a very similar way as a Bambra and Hand. Yeah, so some errors. There's really just a couple that I could touch on. It's possible to destroy a worm furnace at Axmore, the town of Axmore, with a cross, and that is then destroyed. Cross is destroyed. And then you choose to go to Stanford, which is like the next town over, to help a farmer defend his house, like we talked about earlier. And you can help him with the cross that you just burnt. So that was already destroyed by that worm furnace. So yeah, it's possible to sort of a little continuity error, but nothing to get too upset about. It's also possible to get unlimited skill and luck bonuses simply by going backwards and forwards between Axmore and Stanford. So these are the options where you can sort of retrace your steps, and if you do, you can legitimately max out your skill and your luck. So yeah. Reference 317. Groomont is misspelt as Groomton. one to write down. Right, let's summarise this book. Give it a score out of 10. So, Dead of Night, it's widely regarded as a kind of high quality, atmospheric and very challenging game book that kind of revitalised the series at a time when it needed it. A lot of fans say that the books between 30 and 40 are the weakest of the entire Puffin range. There are some good books in there, but I kind of agree there are some real clangers in there. But this one kind of brought it back to life a little bit. So that series, that kind of 1980s time. But yeah, this book is beautiful. It's dark. It's got gothic horror theme running through it. Co-written obviously by Bamber and Hand, and it features this kind of like semi-open world. You know, lots of village to village kind of structure going on, and it kind of encourages exploration. And it offers a lot of refreshing, fair, and less linear experiences than your average fighting fantasy game book. And in terms of design, Dead of Night has kind of a logical flow, and it's really well planned. Good planning of the plotting as well, and it's both interesting, got a good pace, and a good sense of urgency for your mission as well. Both writers are not just aiming for atmosphere. They want to kind of give you a standout book as well, and they definitely succeeded with Dead of Night. And as the adventure progresses, it moves from voyage of discovery, you know, like a discovery romp in the south, to more of a sort of survival book as you head north. And you lose your horse, so things start going bad, and obviously the blight's worsening, the demons are taken over, and then it gets really dark into the real horror territory when you hit the final act. The book kind of switches into another kind of darker mode with a series of twisted puzzles for you to navigate when you get to the final scenario where the demon Prince Myurr is holed up. So first comes a house that kind of keeps teleporting you, you know, to the front door. If you go the wrong way, if you take a wrong turn and you get teleported back to the front door. I did that a few times. And that's followed by a test involving a sorcerer who has been duped by Myurr himself into thinking his intentions are good or honourable. And the final act includes a kind of evil musical instrument called the demonic pandemonium. And then you've got this little dinky maze of doorways and encounters where you've got to fight Myurr's final guard using combat only, so your talents can't be used there. This is quite interesting, as it forces you to sort of always avoid combat by relying on your talents, and all of a sudden you've got to go back to the good old fisticuffs. Finally, you come to the end showdown with Myurr himself, and that is a really strong battle in the sense of how it's designed and in how his stats show. So he's skill 14, stamina 25. But this is one of the best designed combats in this book, in my opinion, and it equals the superb attack rounds from Citadel of Chaos, where you fought good old Balthus Dire. And the way it works is you get various options as you fight. Each round, you know, you're not just rolling dice. You've got these like little text-based options. And you're trying to sort of find his Achilles heel at the same time. So you've got all these things going on, and you can kind of smash these objects up in the room, certain objects, and one of them is the Achilles heel. So as you're going around having a fight, you're trying to break all these different objects up, and it's really tough. But it's also the final showdown, so you would expect it to be tough. With the number of stat bonuses gained earlier as well in the adventure, the fact that combat can be often avoided by using your talents, this combat is less unwinnable than it sounds. So that skill 14 or whatever it was, you know, you can actually bring him down a peg or two with some sort of special weapons and such. So it's a really clever, well thought out end battle. So overall, it's a brilliant entry in this series. The dark horror genre is always a winner for me. It works very well. The book, and of course book 38, Vault of the Vampire, that we reviewed, with sort of the beginning of a return to form for fighting fantasy, in my thoughts. The book sort of released going forward kind of brought a new calibre, I always found that books 40 onwards, they just kind of found a new pace, if you like. But I'm going to give this book a high 8 out of 10. It's brilliantly written, it's amazingly illustrated, it's got some very clever mechanics, and it all works really well, and it's highly memorable. And the last ability is very good. You know, you'll keep coming back to this one, I always find. Yeah, 8 out of 10 for Dead of Night. So that's my review for this book. If you'd like to give it a thumbs up, maybe give me a comment, tell me what you thought about this particular book, what you thought of the mechanics, what you thought of the artwork, what you thought of the whole range of book 30 to 40, and whether you thought that they were a bit lackluster too. And the next book I'm going to do will be book 41, which is Master of Chaos or something? Something like that, by Keith Martin. So that's going to be the next book. So catch me in that review.